What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more My Hero Academia, the strongest hero, and today we are going to be going over the global launch tier list for what heroes you should be going for, also some recommendations if you should immediately summon for heroes, or maybe wait till better ones, maybe in the S tier, come out just shortly after release. So we're going to go over all the heroes, give you some ins and outs, when you can use them and be good, while some of them are not great at the beginning, are really great when they get to triple S, SSS, so let's jump into it. Make sure you guys do take 1 second though, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump right into it. Alright, so to start off this list, we're probably just going to mark one hero down as kind of one of the worst in the game, at least at the beginning. I have heard some things on the Korean, Chinese server that have made him work, but Iida, yeesh, not really a great hero. He's probably, at least in the beginning, one of the worst ones you can build. Don't build him. I mean, save shards if you do get him, upgrade him slowly, but don't hunt for him. Don't build him. We'll see once we get to global how he performs, especially in very high powered PvP, but at least from what we've seen so far, not really the best. Now the next hero here is very interesting. So Todoroki, I'm gonna put him up in the A tier. I know a lot of people upon initial launch will probably think he's very lackluster. He's kind of like a worst endeavor. A lot of people probably at launch would want to probably put him in B or C, but once he gets to triple S, so once you get enough of those shards, get him up to SSS, he really actually starts popping off. He's very strong. I know a lot of people will probably complain if I put him too high. I know a lot of people will complain if I put him too low, but overall he's very good in the later game. At first, I don't know. He might be a good hero to re-roll for on your initial launch. But we're gonna have to see. Overall though, he does a great A hero. Next up is going to be one of the free units we get, and that is going to be Kirishima. So he's one of my favorite. Red Riot, by far like my favorite hero in all of My Hero. He's a free unit, so he's one of the ones you get very early on in the campaign. It does take a little bit of skill to master him, because his counterattack is probably one of the most amazing defensive skills in the game, but it does take some skill to know how to counterattack properly. He's not as easy to pick up as a hero like Deku is, but he does feel like he has a slightly higher skill ceiling. He's not the best versus range units, of course, but luckily right now in the game there are not many range units, so that's pretty good. But you know, he might fall off a little bit later, but at least at the beginning of the game at global launch, he's definitely going to be a great hero to invest in. I think probably a little bit better than Deku overall. It's very close. It just depends on what you're prioritizing, because of course this is going to be an overall tier list. It's not necessarily directed directly at PvP or directly at PvE. This is kind of like we're going to talk about everything and their overall performance to see if you want to summon for them. So I think for that reason, he is definitely an A, but again, he could fall off later on. The next one up is another one of the free units you're going to get in the beginning, and that is Kaminari. So I know this one is another hot topic hero. I know a lot of people love him and would probably throw him up in A, maybe B, maybe C. I kind of think he's C, but then again, that's just from my personal experiences using the hero. He's a very confusing hero. Definitely the worst out of the 3 starter heroes between Deku, Kirishima, and Kaminari. He's definitely the worst. His damage isn't anything amazing. It's nothing super high. The big thing he has advantage of is having ranged attacks, which is, of course, very easy. He's very easy to learn as well for a brand new player or a new player to this game. But he does have some good AoE damage. The problem with that AoE damage is AoE damage close range, and every time I've used Kaminari in anything serious, seems like whenever you use his big ultimate ability or any of his close range attacks, it just seems like he gets pummeled right afterwards. So it's kind of this weird thing where it's like, yes, he's a ranged hero. If someone gets close to you, you can use those big AoE attacks, but a lot of times when I use them, I felt like I had to force myself to get close to the enemy just to use my abilities to then get hit, then just to back up again. So I guess it really comes down to personal preference. If you like ranged heroes, honestly, maybe you put that up as an A. But I feel like for overall gameplay between campaign, PvE, PvP. I think he's more like a C, but again, this can bump up anywhere between A and C depending on who is using him. Next up, we have Ochako. So I'm gonna put her in B tier. Again, it's very subjective right now from what I've seen from a lot of other people making tier lists. I've seen plenty of people put her up in A. She can be very difficult to deal with. Why? Because she's one of the only heroes in the game that can hover in the air, unreachable by a good majority of the heroes in the game, almost all of them. But again, her damage isn't very high. Her utility is what makes her annoying, especially in PvP. She can levitate, she can get some attacks off, nobody can hit her. That's her main bonus here, and she is one of the few ranged heroes in the game, so she does have some uses. Some potential as well, but I would say for now, kind of hold off on her. She's a great one to build, though. Perfect waifu to go for. Maybe not the best. There's other ones that are better, but that's what I think of her. Deku, we're also going to put in the A tier. So he is borderline as strong as like All Might, depending on who's using him, depending on if you do his combos well. He's not completely broken, but he's a very solid hero. And of course, he's the very first hero you get, and you can actually level him up very quickly. Very easy hero to get to learn the game with as well, so they did an amazing job of making your intro hero a very, very solid one. He can teleport to the enemy, he can juggle them in the air, and if any of you guys are used to fighting games, if you can juggle an enemy, that's usually a huge bonus, and of course takes a little bit of skill, but he can do some insane damage, and he has really great mobility because he has abilities that teleport you to the enemy. You can teleport back. There's just really awesome utility in him as well. Next one is going to be Bakugo. I'm actually going to put him at B tier. I know a lot of people are going to say he probably deserved to be in like C tier. But again, he's another one that is not really great in the early game, but when you get him to SSS, he can become very, very strong. And he's one of the few heroes in the game that can counter gravity. Like she's in the air, he's one of the few that can actually hit her up there. But again, he's very underwhelming early game, so save up your shards. He's going to be one that you're going to want to use maybe further down the road. Not really a hero you want to target, which is kind of sad because he's kind of like one of the coolest heroes in My Hero. And he kind of underperforms. Honestly, if we're talking about early game, he might be like a C tier. If you're talking about like SSS, he might be A tier, which is why I think overall performance B kind of fits him very, very well. Now, Tsuyu is one of the next ones coming in, and I think I'm going to be putting her in the A tier as well. I do think she has some really amazing combos, but she again is not the easiest hero to learn. It does take a little bit of skill, a little bit of time investment to learn the hero properly. She might also be a free-to-play unit, so we don't know just yet. But pairing her with like Deku and Kirishima for like a beginner free-to-play account, she could be really strong. She's a really fun hero to use, at least in my opinion. But again, a lot of these heroes really depend on what your playstyle is. Do you like to be like an All Might, smash them in the face? Do you like to be like a Gravity, just way back in the back doing ranged attacks, things like that? It's all up to personal preference, but Tsuyu is definitely an A tier in my eyes. Another B tier is going to be Mineta. So probably one of my least favorite heroes in general. I mean, anime, game, whatever you're talking about. He does some decent damage. He's a fun hero to play, but I mean, he's not really one I think you want to aim for or really take any progress and try to go towards. Just my personal opinion. And then we also have probably one of the best heroes coming out is going to be Tokoyami. So Tokoyami's Dark Shadow, it does take a little bit of time to get going, but he is very, very strong. He's probably like an A tier. Like if we're talking like PvE damage, A tier, but when he comes to PvP, he's very dominant. He does take some practice. Another one of those heroes where you're not going to just jump on the hero and know exactly how to play them perfectly. It's going to take a little bit of test, but he's potentially one of the most well-rounded heroes built at launch. But again, it's going to take a little bit of time to learn him, but that's not a big deal. And then we also have Momo. Momo, I struggle with as well. I feel like she should be an A tier, maybe S tier. Probably the top tier waifu hero if that's who you're going for to play. I think I want to put her in A tier though. She has some really cool utility. So the reason what makes her so viable, especially in PvP, is she has an ability that puts turrets down that fire and they're completely independent of her. What's really great is you can then swap her out of combat And those turrets are going to keep attacking. So she can place them and swap back out, because overall her normal damage and her gameplay is not good. But any type of combat where you can swap your hero in and out, she's going to be very good, because you can, of course, attack, throw the turrets down, swap out to your main damage dealer, or like to a Kirishima or something. They can, you know, be very defensive while all those turrets are attacking. That is a perfect combo. But again, not a solo unit. She's not great in solo, but when the right team is built around her, she can really abuse those turrets and be very strong. So for that reason, I'm going to leave her at A. In the right hands and the right team, she could be an S tier. But I think overall, I want to make sure it's not a bad opinion for a lot of people. Especially, I don't want them hunting her in case they're not ready to know what her combat is actually like. And then last but not least of all the heroes that we know are going to be at launch is going to be Aizawa. So Aizawa is probably the best unit in PvP right now. Better than any other hero on this tier list so far. We also might be getting him free based on what we saw in the beta, but we don't know just yet. Definitely, if PvP is what you're all about, the campaign is fun and everything, but PvP arena is where this game is at. It's so much fun. Aizawa is a must on like every single team, especially at launch. So we do have two other heroes that I want to mention. We do not know if they're going to be at launch just yet, though. There could be, but again, it really is dependent on what the beta looked like and what live is going to look like. So until that happens, we don't know. But Endeavor is going to be another S tier hero. He's a god, like an absolute god in PvE, and he's still very, very, very strong in PvP. But on the beta, the closed beta that came out, it was just a 3-day beta. They had an event to give out Endeavor. He wasn't summonable, but the top 10 powered accounts on every server, not like rank in PvP, but just pure power, so aka whales, the top 10 of them got a copy of Endeavor, where the top 3 got like a copy plus extra shards to upgrade him as well. If that's the case, it's only going to be for whales. If you plan on whaling, you might want to pick a server that's not number 1, like 1, 2, 3. You might want to try to pick a random server so that if this event does come out, you have a chance to getting one of those top 10 places and getting Endeavor right away. There will most likely be a banner down the road, but again, we don't know if that event we saw in the closed beta was meant to be there for launch as well. So take that with a grain of salt. And then very last one here is going to be All Might. Again, S tier, he's Deku, but better. We don't know if he's going to be at launch just yet, but he is absolutely amazing in every single game mode. His whirlwind ability is just, his tornadoes are just crazy in PvP. They're ridiculous in PvE. If you want to save for summons, if you don't want to summon right away in the game and you want to wait for a hero that you're not going to regret summoning for, make sure you save up to 100 summons for when the All Might banner comes out, because he is by far going to be probably one of the best overall performing heroes for you. You might also want to say for Endeavor, it's kind of personal preference on what hero you like using, but 100 summons right now is the guaranteed pity to get a hero copy, so that's really good. Again, crazy PvE damage, really strong in PvP, solid overall hero, but again, Endeavor and All Might, not sure if they're going to be in right at launch. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, like I was saying, a lot of these could be moved up or down, and this is again more like an overall who to go for tier list. PvP and PvE are going to look slightly different. They might be higher on a PvE, but slower on a PvP. But I hope I described it enough so that if you watch the whole thing and not just grab the picture of the tier list, you'll get a better understanding why they're placed in certain places and how they can be in a different tier based on the game mode. But make sure you guys do take 1 second, hit that subscribe button. We're going to have guides, gameplay, series, everything on this game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, join in on the fun on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.